Hello, everybody, and welcome to Right Here, Right Now, live Buffalo football talk presented by Forefathers Organics. I'm your host, Alex Brasky. Going to bring in my co host, Ajay Cybulski, here shortly, both here for the Batavia Daily and Livingston County News. Each week, we'll discuss Buffalo's favorite football team, along with all the comings and goings from Orchard Park, in this case from Indianapolis, thanks to our friends at Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, so Bills-Colts at 1 p.m. inactives coming out in just about 10 minutes time before we get to AJ's game preview. Just want to touch on the top storyline heading into this one, and it's wide receiver injuries for both teams. Bills dealing with two big injuries, Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper. We'll see if Amari Cooper is active or inactive coming up in about 10 minutes, but the elevations from the practice squad in KJ Hamler and Tyrell Shavers, along with the signing of Jalen Virgil to the 53-man roster, does not show good signs for Cooper in terms of his status leading into this one. We'll have the inactives coming out of AJ's game preview. Curtis Samuel was rumored to have a questionable tag entering this game, but that was determined to be a mistake, so it looks like the Bills will have Samuel for this one. Expect a lot of Matt Collins, as you saw last game against the Miami Dolphins, maybe even more Matt Collins this week with the plethora of injuries that the Bills are dealing with at the wide receiver position. And obviously you need more from Dalton Kincaid, 32 receptions through 9 games, expecting a lot out of him entering the season. Hasn't really lived up to those lofty expectations. You need a bunch from him today against this Colts defense. The running game also needs to be heavily involved. James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, one of the top running back trios in the NFL throughout the season. You're going to need a lot from that group with the injuries on the outside. All right, now let's throw it to AJ with our game preview recorded earlier this week.
What is going on, everybody? Ajay Cybulski, the co-host of Right Here, Right Now. Alex, thank you for your initial thoughts on this game. And we're going to continue to break down this Bills versus Colts Week 10 preview, or matchup, with a little preview of this game on Sunday. So some big things going on for both sides. Again, Week 10, the Bills enter this matchup at 7-2. They're coming off a 30-27 victory over the Miami Dolphins in Week 9, where Tyler Bass drilled a 61-yard field goal at the buzzer to really give the Bills firm control of that division. So that was a big win for the Bills last week. They're 4th in a row coming off 2 straight losses, and it looks good now for this Bills team in terms of that. In terms of the division, the Jets, Dolphins, Patriots continue to reel. Indianapolis, on the other hand, made a quarterback switch following its Week 8 loss to the Houston Texans, where they really played them quite well. It was 23-20, but head coach Shane Steichen felt like a change was needed. They turned to veteran quarterback Joe Flacco, who replaced second-year quarterback Anthony Richardson. And that started last week. So Joe Flacco got the start last week against the Minnesota Vikings in Week 9, but the quarterback change did not work. They fell 21-13 and now carry a 4-5 record into this matchup, but still fighting for that playoff kind of scenario here. They're 4-5. You're second place in the AFC South. The Texans are at 6-3, but they're dealing with injuries to Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs. So their offense has had trouble as of late. And then this Indianapolis Colts team, they always seem like they're always in that kind of gray area of that AFC, right? The past few years, they've had a Phillip Rivers-led team that kind of you saw the Bills take on in the divisional round back in 2020. So this Colts team is always frisky. They always find ways to win. They continue to stay competitive year in, year out. And we'll see what Joe Flacco can do against this Buffalo defense. But again, that's kind of where each team stands going into this matchup, and we'll see how it kind of finishes out. But let's move to my game preview on the dailynewsonline.com under the sports tab. I give you a quick preview each week, and actually in-depth preview each week of each matchup, and kind of go through that. So We will start with the spread of this game, which I think is quite interesting. The Bills minus 3.5 point under or favorites at minus 115, while the Colts are plus 3.5 at minus 105. So a kind of unique spread. The Bills only given again 3.5 points. Obviously the favorite, but you'd feel like a team that's won 4 in a row, coming off a big divisional victory. Has been beating teams by a lot besides, a few games they've won close. But other than that, they've been really dominating teams they played. And then the Colts, on the other hand, below 500. Joe Flacco didn't seem too great last week. They'll be without Michael Pittman Jr., and we'll get to the injury report later. But there's just a lot of questions, I think, for the Colts. But again, it's on the road for the Bills. The Colts, like I mentioned earlier, are a frisky team. They find ways to win. So we'll see what this Colts team could do. Again, plus 3.5. Colts, Bills minus 3.5. I would take the Bills minus 3.5. I think they can get it done. We'll get to my prediction later as well, but I think I would take the Bills minus 3.5 if I were betting on this game. Money line, Bills minus 205, Colts plus 172. This actually is a pretty good line if you want to put it in a parlay for the Bills minus 205. It's not crazy odds, but if you parlay it with a couple other games, I think there could be some opportunity to make some money if you choose to do some parlays this weekend. I'm sure some of our listeners are frequent NFL bettors or like to do it. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that. I think the Bills do handle business, so I would go Bills money line in this one. And then the total 47.5. I would probably go the under on both sides offensively, dealing with key injuries to key players. And I think that, that could be an opportunity for the under to hit. It's minus 115. The over is minus 105. The total, again, 47.5. And these odds are all thanks to FanDuel Sportsbook. So they continue to put out some great odds here. Game day weather-wise, according to the National Weather Service, the temperatures will be 66 degrees around kickoff. So a decent, temperature, not nothing crazy, not too hot. Lucas Oil Stadium is a dome, so I don't know how much this will affect it. Winds around 11 miles per hour, gusts as high as 23 miles per hour. Precipitation is expected with a 90% chance of showers with the possibility for thunderstorms. But again, Lucas Oil retractable roof, so I think expect the Bills to play in a dome on Sunday. Josh Allen, a lot of success in domes throughout his career. Will that continue on Sunday? I think it could, so the Bills should be all set there. Good environment, good weather. And again, the Colts fans are one of the best in the league, so it'll be a ruckus environment. The game will be available on all local CBS affiliates for this game, so that's kind of where we're at with that. You can also watch the game on NFL.com, NFL mobile app, or if you have subscriptions, Spectrum, DirecTV, Fubo, Sling, all that stuff. It will be there as well. The injury report front. Now, this is pretty important for both sides. Wide receiver Keon Coleman, who was injured late in that Miami game due to a Jordan Poyer hit on the ball that was flagged and kept the Bills drive alive late in that game to kind of take that lead. He's out with the wrist injury he suffered on that play. So he's out for Sunday's game. Wide receiver Amari Cooper, wrist, fullback Reggie Gilliam, hip, and linebacker Bale Inspector Calf are listed as questionable. So those are some 3 key, injuries for the Bills.
And a quick update there, Amari Cooper reportedly inactive today from Adam Schefter and a bunch of other NFL insiders. So the Bills will reportedly be without Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper here this afternoon.
Amari Cooper, could he go? I think potentially. He's practiced in a limited fashion Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of the last few weeks. So that'll be interesting. And then Reggie Gilliam missed last week's game. And then Bale Inspector, that could be a pivotal injury for the depth at the linebacker position going into this one. It looks like he injured it on Friday during practice. So a late injury. He's questionable. He was limited on Friday. He practiced in full on Wednesday, Thursday. So a late injury to the linebacker depth of the Bills popping up here against the Colts. On the Colts side, Michael Pittman Jr., the star receiver dealing with a finger and back issue, is out for Sunday's game. Could not get on the practice field this week, and he was rolled out on Friday morning by head coach Shane Steichen. So he is not going to be available, and that's a huge loss for this Colts passing attack, who has a couple other weapons. Josh Downs, the second-year player out of North Carolina, pure slot player, really good after the catch, brings a lot of juice. Joe Flacco will be looking his way. There's a lot of other names across this roster. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is a big factor in this Colts success and how they fare out. But Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, another down the field threat that can beat you over the top. Ashton Doolin, Adonai Mitchell, the rookie from Texas, who I thought the Bills could be on. He's also there. The Bills passed up on him, and he kind of fell down the draft boards, but he's also had some glimpses of hope. And then the tight end, Mo Alley Cox, can do some things from a physicality perspective in the run game and also after the catch. So they got still some pieces. Their offensive line, you got one of the best left guards in the league in Quentin Nelson as well. So they have a pretty sturdy offensive line that's done pretty good this year. And again, like I mentioned earlier, Joe Flacco will get the start. Anthony Richardson will be the backup. Let's move to the top storylines of this game. Again, on the dailynewsonline.com, on the sports, as I fix my camera here, on the sports section there. Again, you can find it. Bills vs. Colts Week 10 preview by me, Ajay Cybulski, on the dailynewsonline.com.
And before we get to AJ's storylines, the inactives have been announced. As I said before, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, and Reggie Gilliam, all inactive. And despite being called up from the practice squad, KJ Hamler will also be inactive for this one, along with Edifon Ulofoshio and Will Clapp. So those are the inactives. Once again, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper, Reggie Gilliam, KJ Hamler, Edifon Ulofoshio, and Will Clapp.
My first one will be limiting Jonathan Taylor. He's only played the Bills once in his career, but man, did he make the most of it. He finished with 32 carries for 185 yards and 5 total touchdowns and a 41-15 victory in 2021. So Jonathan Taylor's had success against a Sean McDermott run defense. And again, they're without Dwayne Carter, who's on IR, who knows when he comes back. And also they lost Dewan Smoot to IR as well. So 2 key depth pieces in the interior are down. Jordan Phillips and Quentin Jefferson signed this week to kind of fill in and be that replacement. Jordan Phillips not performing quite well. Only 34 snaps in Dallas this year, dealing with a wrist injury, was put on IR and was asked to be released by Dallas on Tuesday on the trade deadline. He was. The Bills signed him. And then also Quentin Jefferson, who's done minimal with the Browns, but has had some good years. In 2023, he set a career high in sacks with the New York Jets. So maybe still some juice left in the tank, both in the early 30s. Those 2 players, Quentin Jefferson, Jordan Phillips, will be asked to replace the interior guys of Dwayne Carter and Dewan Smoot, who are currently on injured reserve. Back to Jonathan Taylor. Over his last 2 games, the 2024 season, he's recorded 33 carries for 153 yards and 1 touchdown. So some good production here from the former University of Wisconsin product. Last week, it was a tough, I think, day for the Bills' run defense. They allowed running back Devon Achane to carry the ball 12 times for 63 yards and 1 touchdown. But against the run in Week 9, the Bills allowed a 51.6% success rate, which was 4th highest, 4.31 yards after contact, which was the highest in the league, plus 0.19 EPA per rush on runs with motion, which was the 4th highest, negative 0.02 per EPA per rush, which is 14th, and then a 25.8% stuff rate, which was actually 2nd highest in the league. So what those numbers kind of show you is that Buffalo did a good job of making stops for 0 or less yards, but did allow some chunk plays in the run game. I think if the Bills want to find success on Sunday, stopping Jonathan Taylor will be priority number 1, which will force Flacco and the Colts offense to become one-dimensional without their leading receiver and target in Michael Pittman Jr. So that kind of sums up the run defense. You got to play fast. You got to be able to tackle Jonathan Taylor. You cannot be allowing 4.31 yards after contact like they did last week. When you get to Jonathan Taylor, you're going to have to bring him down, take good angles. Dorian Williams, big game. Terrell Bernard, another big game. And then obviously the interior of the Bills defense. You know what you have really with Greg Rousseau on the outside as a run stopper, but they need that run defense in the middle of Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones to really step up. My next kind of thing going on here is faster starts for the offense. The Bills have struggled to find their rhythm offensively in the first half of games. They have scored 10 or less points in the opening half in 5 of 10 games this season. So they're not scoring that much in the first half, 5 of 10 games, 10 or less points, And like I mentioned, quarterback Josh Allen will be without Coleman and potentially Cooper on Sunday. But the Bills offense needs to start fast against the Colts to find some confidence and put some Indianapolis in a hole early. Giving the ball to running back James Cook, I think, could help the offense settle in. And I think you got to use, again, Khalil Shakir. He's been one of the best receivers when targeted this year. And I thought he's done a really, really good job as a pass catcher. I think his yards after the catch ability, his nuance as a route runner, understanding leverage. In the screen game, they've done a good job of springing him free, getting offensive linemen in front of him. So I want to see what he can do. Curtis Samuel, I think if Cooper can't go, will even be more of a factor. They need to figure out a way to get the ball in his hands and see what he can do with it. It's just been really minimal from Curtis Samuel. And then obviously Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox. I think if you can work that 12 personnel early, maybe that jumbo package they've had a lot of success with that Alec Anderson as a sixth offensive lineman. I think the Bills can find a lot of success in the run game and passing game in this one. And again, it needs to happen fast to make the Flacco and the Colts more one-dimensional. And then last but not least, I think it's all about staying hot. I think claiming the number one seed in the AFC is still in the cards as the Bills reach the midpoint of the season. The Ravens knocked out the Bengals on Thursday Night Football yesterday to improve to 7-3. The Kansas City Chiefs are undefeated at 8-0, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are at the top of the AFC North with a record of 6-2. So I think those are kind of the teams, maybe throw in the Houston Texans as well, but they've had some injuries, and they have a tougher schedule down the stretch and play some tough games where I think the Chiefs, Ravens, Bills are kind of the cream of the crop. Maybe the Steelers, if they can figure out to continue to win games, but that's kind of how I think it shapes up for the in terms of that one seed. I think Bills need to stay hot. They're riding a 4-game winning streak going into this game, and I think if Buffalo wants to keep its hopes of a first-round bye alive in the 2024 NFL playoffs, defeating an inferior Colts team on the road needs to be done ahead of a huge Week 11 matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 11 at Highmark Stadium before they carry the bye on Week 12, and then return with a game against the 49ers in Week 13. So all in all, that's kind of my overview of the game. I went through top storylines, odds spread, broadcast details, the game day weather, but which again, it's in a dome, and then just gave a quick overview at the beginning of this segment where each team kind of stands in their division and kind of what's going on and some kind of notes from each side of the ball or each side going into this game. Back to Alex here for predictions.
All right, a big thank you to AJ. Let's see if he had his prediction.
I'm going to take the Bills in this one, Alex.
Okay, yes,
I'm going to go with a 31-17 victory. They win by 14 points on the road. I just think, look, this Bills team, they've really found its rhythm. A huge win. Tyler Bass got a confidence booster last week. They're riding the wave of that momentum. To get an 8-2 would be huge. I think it's a big game in terms of that one seed, like I mentioned earlier. And again, I think this Bills team has what it takes to knock off a Colts team without Michael Pittman Jr. I think that they'll be able to get it done. Again, offensively, Cook, Shakir, and Kincaid, and then defensively, I think it's all about stopping Jonathan Taylor and making them one-dimensional. Joe Flacco was making some throws last week against Minnesota, but again, they only scored 13 points in that game. So I think Sean McDermott can get creative. Bobby Babbage can continue to work, and they can make those proper adjustments to get to the ball. And if they don't stop Jonathan Taylor, I could see this going differently, especially if he does what he did in 2021 to this Bills team. But again, I think the Bills will handle their business, move to 8-2 with hopes of a 1 seed still on the horizon. Again, thank you for listening to my spiel on the game, and we will, see you next time here.
All right, yeah, I think I went out of order there. I was supposed to give my prediction and then toss it back to AJ, but hey, no harm, no foul. AJ has the Bills winning. I do as well. I have a close one. I've picked blowouts the last 2 weeks. Give me the Bills to win this one, 21-18. As AJ alluded to, you got to stop Jonathan Taylor. You got to pressure Joe Flacco, force him out of the pocket. You can't allow him to get comfortable. That's where he can beat you going deep down the field. Alec Pierce, the leading yards getter for the Colts receiving game, a deep target for Flacco. You can't allow that connection to get hot here this afternoon. You can't fall into a trap game. You have that big matchup with Kansas City coming up next week. The Colts are a decent team, not a great team. You got to find your way through this one despite the injuries. So I have 21-18. AJ gave his prediction. Before we get out of here, let's thank our sponsor once again, Forefathers Organics in Dansville.
Unlock the power of nature with Forefathers Organics, your premium CBD store. We offer the highest quality CBD and hemp products to liberate your mind, body, and soul, helping you live happy and free. Our mission is driven by excellence and transparency, using cutting-edge scientific methods to combat stress and target issues at their source. From potent ingestible CBD to soothing topicals, all our products are USDA certified organic. Discover all natural wellness from farm to table. Visit forefathersorganics.com for more information.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Catch us post game. We'll see you next time.